What is up, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And on today's live stream, we're going to have a very special guest here in just a minute. It will be Rian Winter of SportsChat503. He'll keep us up to date on everything going on with Oregon and what to expect from the Ducks as they are set to play the Red Raiders this weekend out in the 806. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, share the stream to your fellow Red Raider Nation fans out there as we are trying to go behind enemy lines in today's video. Rian will join here shortly, so let's get the chat going a little bit. Get your score predictions in there. Some questions to ask Rian. We'll be sure to put them on the screen, and when he gets in here, should be just a couple minutes, but appreciate y'all spending some time with me here tonight before Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. That guy, he looks kind of familiar. Kick off their 2024 campaign, or 2023 campaign, excuse me. No Travis Kelce tonight for the defending Super Bowl champs. Going to be interesting to see where they go, but going to be a lot of fun when it comes down to really talking about the Chiefs all year long. We'll do that, but we'll also discuss much more when it comes to Texas Tech football, as Rian, again, will be joining us tonight to really break down the Oregon Ducks as they come in, and we'll be talking about some jersey stuff that's going on. I tweeted out earlier today, kind of just to be funny, but Chris Level, he is reporting that Phil Knight will be there. I think that's because of interest with, Oregon, obviously being his alma mater. For those that don't know, Phil Knight, well, he's the guy that owns Nike. Adidas will be there as well. You'll have them and then some Under Armour reps. So we'll discuss all of that and much more in today's video and really just go behind enemy lines here and talk to Rian, who will be joining us shortly. But if y'all have any questions, ask away in the chat. Leave me those score predictions. I know I've been asking a lot this week for score predictions, but it's so interesting to see for me when it comes down to it, for the sheer fact of I feel like Red Raider Nation is kind of divided right now in terms of there's some people within it that are really down on Texas Tech now when it comes down to it. But there's also some people that are kind of like, okay, it was just one game. This is still a good football team. I'm curious to hear from y'all. And now, well, without further ado, let's add the man himself. We got him right here, the guy that knows everything we need to know about Oregon football. And by the way, that hat is unbelievably saucy. Unbelievably saucy, Ryan.
Thank you so much. This is one of the NIL collectives at Oregon. We can get into that maybe later, but this is called Ducks Rising. Sorry for being a little late there. I got caught upstairs and literally just spaced the time. So here we go. I'm here.
No, you're good. No worries at all. Also, I will say this. Have you seen Hunger Games before?
No.
That logo looks like the Hunger Games to me.
Ah. Well, it feels like the Hunger Games out here when it comes to conference realignment in the Pac-12. So
yeah, it does. You're not alone on that front.
And I think we made it. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. It's like the Mayans, they're sacrificing the victors. I don't know if you'd want to be on the winning team at that point.
Yeah, it's there's only really losers when it comes to conference realignment. There's no real winners. And then there's some really bad losers, and that's Oregon State and Washington State. When it comes down to it. But
I think there's some teams. I think there's some teams that are going to really benefit from it, though. That are
100% agree with that.
Look at Houston. I mean, Houston jumps to the Big 12, and now the Big 12 is half of what was the Pac-12, and I think Big 12's got a bright future. So yeah, there is some positive out there, but yes, it's not in Oregon State and it's not at Washington State.
But y'all made the right move too. Oregon did, in terms of just making sure you're solidified, right? That's all you need to have right now is that little bit of security, even if maybe you're going to be putting the miles on the jet when it comes to traveling. But Rian, let the people know before we get into this behind enemy lines video today here, where they can find you and all the great work you're doing covering Oregon.
Thanks so much, man. Yeah, I'm on SportsChat503 is my handle there. I'm on YouTube. I got, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I'm kind of an old head, so I don't even know how to put something on a podcast on a audio file. I don't even know how to make an audio file out of a video. So I'm not on Apple or Spotify or anything, but I'm just on YouTube. I've been doing it for like over 10 years now. I think 12, 13 years now. And it's very fun. We got a good team, got a good fan base. It's a lot of fun. We travel. My son has been into it his whole time, and now he's a senior in high school, and so he's going to go there next year, and he's on the field taking pictures. So it's kind of a whole scene out here, and yeah, it's very fun. If you're interested in the Ducks, I also talk about college football as well. I do a video every week talking about the rest of college football, the nation. So top 25 basically. But yeah, man, let's talk about this game. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, before we do, shout out to Logan Ray. He's absolutely right. Some winners, definite losers, and then there's Notre Dame, right? That's
Notre
really
Dame
what
always
it comes
wins.
down to. Yeah, the Golden Domers, right? But yeah, you're right. Let's jump right into this game. And I was telling the people before you got in here, I don't know if you saw this. Chris Level is reporting it, prominent reporter here in Lubbock, that Phil Knight's going to be at the game. No surprise there. Then you've got the Adidas side of things for Texas Tech and the Under Armour. It's interesting because on the Texas Tech side, before we jump into the game, the Under Armour deal is done next year. And so everybody's like, are they getting away from it, the Nike stuff? I think that Texas Tech is going to go Adidas because of the Patrick Mahomes route and being close to that. But just wanted to put that out there that Phil Knight will be
So when is that contract up? Is that contract up for you guys next year?
Yep, June 1st, 2024.
And you think it's going to be the Under Armour that's going to win that deal? You think? But
I think it's going to be Adidas.
I'm sorry. Do you think the other one is going to be the other option?
Yeah, no, I think Nike is a distant third, even though myself and a lot of Tech fans want that to happen. Must be nice to have some Nike stuff. Anyway, let's jump into this because I think a lot of Tech fans, obviously, I've been on your show too, talking about how it's been a total 180 in terms of the fan base this past week, and rightfully so. Let the people know exactly what kind of Oregon team is coming in here, because again, last week really wasn't a test for y'all. Bona fide scrimmage, right? Yeah. Against Portland State. Obviously, you handled business 81-7. But what kind of team is coming into Lubbock in terms of who are some of the potential playmakers Texas Tech fans need to watch out for outside of Bo Nix? I think everybody knows that, obviously. But also, what kind of team does Oregon have in terms of maybe the trenches, secondary, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, Oregon's got a good team. I mean, this is a team that returns the key position players that you already kind of had, and then add in the transfer portal. They're a good team, and again, you don't really know what you have. It's kind of a hard thing because the first game is always tough. I went to Atlanta last year, and the Ducks had a good team as well, and we thought, oh, we're going to at least put up a fight, and got absolutely just boat raced. You couldn't even imagine how bad it was. It felt like in the stadium. The Georgia Bulldog fans were buying me drinks at halftime, because it was so bad. It was like they're commiserating. It's a tough situation, at the beginning of the year, because you don't really know this team specifically. But we think the Ducks have a really good team. They're deep in all the good position groups. Troy Franklin is the guy who was like the uniform model this week, number 11. He's a wide receiver, really good wide receiver. They've got the two running backs that hopefully they're both playing, but Bucky Irving's the number 1 running back, number 0. And Noah Whittington, both those guys were transfers last year. So it's like, this is what happens now. You get a new coach, you got a lot of new players, a lot of new faces, new coaches come in. Those guys have relationships with other guys. Michael Penix, for example, at Washington, who went in as a transfer from Indiana. Well, Kalen DeBoer was his offensive coordinator in Indiana. So it's just, you just make these connections. That's how modern day college football works. And the Ducks are definitely a part of that. And, so the real question last year was about defense, putting a pass rush together. Sometimes the Ducks got in trouble defensively. They should have won the OSU game and they should have won the Washington game last year. They let both those slide because of the defense. The offense did a pretty good job. They were also in the bowl game, just right down the road in it. There had to have a 1-point win against UNC. Because the defense was kind of light on it and just really didn't put pressure on the quarterback. And a guy like Drake May, who's going to be an awesome NFL quarterback, you got to put pressure on. He's going to eat you alive. So I think this is going to be just a hell of a game. I think that the Ducks do have a good team. I from a reality perspective, I don't know how your guys' roster as well. And so I think obviously as a Duck, as like, oh, our roster is better because we know our roster better. But I do think that there's some really good skill guys out here. The tight end position looked really good last week. We have Patrick Herbert, who's Justin Herbert's little brother. And he's super athletic. And then Terrence Ferguson, the other tight end. I think Terrence Ferguson is a legitimate NFL tight end. And so those guys, played really well. So offensively, I think you're fine. The question starts on the defensive, the defensive front and the defensive ends and just how they do pressure. Because, Dan Lanning's also known for kind of exotic pressures and, simulated pressures and all sorts of, bringing forward with a variety of different players, not just your front four, and bringing linebackers up or safeties up. And they've moved safeties down to linebacker. They're both two of their main starting linebackers or safeties have come down and transitioned into a faster, leaner linebacker. So I think it's going to be a good game. I think you guys put a lot of pressure on the Ducks because there's, like I said before when you were on, there's not really one thing that they do, Texas Tech. Offensively, I think they're very versatile. I think they come in with a spread look. They can throw the ball around. They can go tempo, but they can also slow it down, bring in the heavy set and go on.
When you talk about the total roster in terms of talent, right? I think Oregon pretty handily wins that, right? But as we know in college football, and we've talked about it, that multiple conversations we've had, it's a game changer that this is in Lubbock, right? Because there's a lot of unknown in the fact that this is Oregon's first true test, right? And I think y'all have some talented dudes. I love Bucky Irving. Is Whittington going to play this week?
No idea. They don't talk about injuries at all. Like they just, the two deep was the entire roster.
I saw that. There was a bunch of oars. Yeah. So there was more oars than just, probably Michael has had in his life. Shout out to the blind side.
I would assume that those guys, there was a lot of guys who maybe, were a little ding going into Portland State. They knew what they had going into this game. So sure. I think what I like about this matchup is really about, can Oregon's defense step up against Texas Tech's offense? I think that's a great side of it. I think Oregon's going to score. I don't know if they're going to score enough, to really put the game out of reach. I think it's going to be pretty tight the whole time, but I think Oregon's going to put points on the board.
I agree with that.
It's whether or not they can stop Texas Tech.
That's kind of what I think so too. I think that Texas Tech, again, I just have a hard time believing the offense is going to be that bad like they were in the second half against Wyoming again, even against way better competition, right? I just have a hard time believing that. And speaking of the Texas Tech offense, I'd be remiss not to ask you, because I'm sure a bunch of the viewers want to know. Tyler Shough, obviously there's the connection there. Y'all fared out pretty well with getting Bo Nix, I'd say. I think it worked out for you guys in that regard. But overall, from your vantage point, and maybe you personally too, you can throw your opinion in on that. What's the viewpoint on Tyler Shough this week out for you guys in terms of maybe is it a little bit, are you scared, not scared? How do y'all view him coming into this game, leading the Texas Tech offense?
Well, I really like Tyler individually. So I had him on my show, interviewed him right when he was coming in as the starting quarterback at Oregon that summer, coming out of COVID. He was at a time at Oregon was very strange, with everything else that was going on. He has kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. There's some people who support him and think that the sky's the limit, and it's just about whether or not he can be in the right scheme to be able to put him in the right places. There's other people who think that maybe he, makes the wrong decision at times and looks a little bit uncertain at times. And, especially when it comes to running the ball or throwing the ball or in the pocket or extending the play or and any of those kind of things. But, we saw a much younger version. And then obviously injuries have taken a part of that as well. I think people have, it's a weird thing. I think people have kind of a negative outlook when people get injured, as if people can even control it whatsoever. But I do think that there's something that some people kind of look down on that a little bit. It's like, this guy's just never available, and he's never. And so, I do think that he has a little bit of room to grow in people's opinion of him. But I really like him individually, and I actually think he can make. Everybody says you can make all the throws. I don't know if he can make all the throws, but he can make a lot of throws. He can throw the ball very well. When he gets a chance to put his back foot in the ground and plant and throw, he looks like a phenomenal quarterback. He definitely looks the part. he fits the mold and everything else like that. And I think he can really scoot. I think he can get you the first down. They proved that with those first, what was it, 3 plays in a row where they were moving the change, like we were saying, late in the game. But it was too predictable offensively, and then you have to go to something else. You have to be able to do that run-pass balance, really keep your quarterback alive and well. And it felt like there was at times he was kind of running for his life. Speaking of running for his life, I think Bo Nix did so much of that at Auburn that he really learned from that he needs to stay in the pocket to be successful. And Bo Nix's success last year was not really running the ball and getting first downs or extending the play and doing some crazy, Patrick Mahomes-esque, playground type throws or whatnot, home run throws. It was from just letting the offense be the offense and taking, if not the first read, the second read, go to the third, whatever the case may be, but staying in the pocket. And he had a great, clean pocket. He didn't get sacked until like week 8 or something last year. It was kind of a ridiculous number. He had a good offensive line, and he learned that. And I think Tyler is in the same boat. I think if the offensive line in front of him is clean, I don't think he has a real need to tuck and go. Most of these quarterbacks learn at a very early age. If the ball's not there, I got to go. I got to make something happen out of this play. And the clock is ticking in their head way faster than it is for anybody else on the field. So it's like, you can see him get that ball, and then it's like 3, 2, 1, I'm out. And even if you might give up something to get 3-4 yards, I think he's going to take it. He's also a big dude who can handle the hit, which is what you want to see at our quarterback, which is definitely what you see for Bo Nix. I mean, that guy is built like a machine as well. So, I really like the idea of these quarterbacks, the consistency. And the other thing is the Tim DeRuyter aspect. Tim, I think, did a really good job for us out here. He had a really interesting team. It's in a transition between kind of what one group wanted and what the other group wanted with the recruits and everything else. But I think he did a really good job with who he had. And I think he also really helped Kayvon Thibodeau. I think Kayvon Thibodeau's rise to success obviously came from the fact that he's an absolute stud. He was the number 1 player in the country coming out of high school. He's obviously going to be one of the number 1 players coming out of college if he just keeps on the trajectory that he was at. But I think Tim DeRuyter did some cool stuff with him. He was one of the first guys to start dropping him back in coverage and doing some other just kind of off the wall things that the average person was questioning. Because like, why would you take this guy who's the number 1 rush rusher and put him in the backfield and have him, cover the tight end or something? But he knows that's what's going to happen in the pros. And he's trying to get him some looks at that. And I do think that he ran some schemes that really helped him out and really raised his draft stock.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Tech fans know that well with Tyree Wilson last year. Obviously didn't have the pedigree that Thibodeau had coming out of high school, but transferred into Texas Tech, and, well, he turned into a top 10 pick just like Thibodeau. So I think it works out for it, right, on that front. When you watch this, or I guess when you look at this matchup, right, like when you look at it, what is the one thing that you think will dictate the outcome of this game for either side, right? But let's talk about Oregon. Oregon has to do blank to beat Texas Tech.
Okay. Well, I love that question because it was just what we were talking about. I think Boney's be able to stay in the pocket. If you push him off the spot and you make him run around, you have the good edge pressure, and you're bringing all that, blitz defense that DeRuyter loves to do. You know what Bo's instinct's going to be. He wants to put his back foot in the ground, plant, and go. 40-yard dash out of there. And so I think to Oregon's success, you need to put the ball in the air. You need to put a lot of pressure on this defense, and you need to get the chains moving early and often. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. I think they're going to be able to pass the ball if they can keep Bo clean. It's just about, will the Texas Tech defense be disruptive enough to kind of dictate the game, or at least dictate some of the terms, and especially at the offensive front line. We think we have a pretty good offensive line, and there's a lot of guys that are new there. Not a lot of consistency, but we think we have a pretty good offensive line. This is going to be a good test. And if the Raiders come off the ball hot and push Bo, that Bo's going to just tuck the ball and go. And that could be effective for Oregon too, because obviously he can do that. But I don't think that's what the game plan has. I think this year of any change between we went to new offensive coordinator, Kenny Dillingham, offensive coordinator last year, now at ASU, and Will Stein now. Will Stein, I don't think he wants to run Bo at all. And so in the spring game, Bo wasn't running. Now Ty Thompson got a great first down. Boom, second play, design run. Spread everything out, tuck and go. And that was the backup quarterback. So, it's obviously in the playbook, but I just think that they want to keep Bo nice and clean, let him sit in the pocket, let him pick people apart, let him get to the sideline. And and on to the next one. Because again, this is going to be a game. Whoever's offense is better is going to win.
I agree. But I think the most important side or most important aspect, I think, for both offenses, it doesn't matter if you're talking Oregon or Texas Tech, whose offensive line plays better. And I kind of want to dive deeper into that from the Oregon standpoint. Where would you say Oregon's quote unquote weakness is on the offensive line? Is it, left side, right side, maybe the interior? Where do you think maybe Texas Tech could be like, okay, obviously, because I agree, I think Oregon's offensive line is good. But if there was a weakness, for example, where do you think Texas Tech should attack on that offensive line of Oregon?
Well, to backtrack again, I love the offensive line. My favorite position. It's the position I played, the position I know the best, technique-wise, everything else. But it starts with the fact you have a new offensive line coach. So you move in a new coach, right? You move in different scheme with that coach, right? So we kind of still don't exactly know what we have. But he was a guy who was previously there as a GA and everything else. But Josh Connerly Jr., I'll just go left tackle all the way over. Josh Connerly Jr. is a phenomenal athlete, one of the best recruited offensive linemen that Oregon's ever had. Comes from Rainier Beach, Washington. Absolute stud. Really, really athletic guy. Like incredible feet. He is as big as an offensive lineman. Doesn't look like the offensive lineman type. That body type. That's a just danger zone. Caught a pass last year as a tight end or in the heavy package, running as a tight end with a different jersey on his birthday at Colorado. Super talented guy. It's his first year at the offensive left tackle being the starter, but he's like the next one. We looked at him as the golden child when he came in as a freshman. Your left guard and your right guard are kind of interchanging, but there's a lot of guys who have played a lot of football there. So Stephen Jones, number 74, played right guard last week. Junior Angulau can play. He's a transfer. Both those guys are like sixth-year seniors. They've been playing because, again, it's this extra COVID year, right? And that's going to help guys on the offensive line and the defensive line. There's one more year of the meal plan and the weights, but those two guys have played a lot of football together. And then Marcus Harper, number 55, played a lot of football for him last year. He also can play center. Jackson Powers Johnson's the center, 58. Great player. He was a guy who played both ways as a freshman, not starting, but they needed help on the defensive line, so he went to the defensive line, played there. I mean, guy's a stud as a freshman, true freshman. So I don't think there's a real quote unquote weakness. It's just there's certain places that we haven't really seen it all come together at once to know exactly how it works. I also think they rotate a bunch of guys in, multiple guys from Hawaii. We have two brothers on the team, Iapani and Feope La'alau. And those guys are really, really strong, 72 and 75, respectively. And the true freshman, 72, he played a lot in that Portland State game. Now, again, the Portland State game, what do we know? It's a glorified scrimmage. But what we saw was, good stuff on the offensive line. So I think they run about 8 deep on the offensive line. So if a guy gets injured, it's next man up. I don't think they literally skip a beat. But I do think it's a lot of guys who are fairly they're plenty prepared. It's just that they really haven't worked together as a unit. And I think everybody knows, if you ever play offensive line, how important it is to work as a unit. Johnny Cornelius as well as an offensive tackle on the right-hand side. I forgot to say right tackle. He's a transfer over, and he's really good. He's rated out really high from the Pro Football Focus people or whatever rate all the guys. So, I think it's a good offensive line, and I think that you guys have a good offensive line from what I saw. I think the biggest reason why he lost the Wyoming game is because Wyoming went and took the ball, ran off with it. They never even give you a chance. I think Oregon's going to give you a chance. I think Oregon's going to go down the field. I don't think they're going to take that much time off the clock. I think they're going to score. I think they're going to get football right back in your guys' hands. And I think it's just about that old school playground football.
Yeah, I think if Texas Tech is going to compete in this game in the offensive way that you're saying, they have to run the football better, first and foremost. I mean, 2.8 yards a carry is, let's just face it, cover your ears, children, dog shit. But it's one of those things where it's like, you're right, because I went back and like a lunatic I am and went back and watched this Wyoming game a couple of times now.
You have to.
And yeah, I
it's sadistic, but you have to.
Please pray for me. But like the offensive line in pass pro, honestly, if I had to give them a grade for Texas Tech, I'd probably give them a B+. Were they perfect? By no means. But I don't think Tyler Shough did them any favors on certain plays. Now, that's not to say that Tyler Shough played awful. I just think he played pedestrian. But when you look at his line, he was like 31 for 47, 330, 3-1. If you just blindly look at that, you're like, wow, Texas Tech handled business, but that wasn't the case. Right. I think that's the most fascinating matchup in this entire game. I know Oregon is bringing the speed. I think Texas Tech has a ton of weapons as well.
Sure.
But whoever wins between the Oregon offensive line and the Texas Tech defensive line, I think their chances of winning this game exponentially increase. Because you're right. I think Oregon can run the football. I think they're going to do that. I love Bucky. Whittington playing is interesting to me because that dynamic that they have creates a lot of headaches for opposing defensive coordinators. But whoever wins that matchup, in my opinion, really just has an exceptional chance to win the game. Because thinking about Bo Nix, I think some people think about Bo Nix from Auburn and they forget how good he was at Oregon last year, right? Like he was really good, right? Like I think people, it's almost like in fantasy football. If you play fantasy football and set your lineups, people. About to be kickoff.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, set your lineup. But I think it's like that where, you remember the first 3 weeks of the season more than you remember like week 9 to 11, right? Like you just do because it's the thing that you see the most of. The stats are right there. They're new. They're fresh. I feel like that's how people view Bo Nix. They remember him at Auburn where he was playing really young in the SEC and he struggled, right? He flat out struggled. And then now he's at Oregon and he balled out last year. And now he's a legit Heisman candidate. And I think, again, if Texas Tech can set the edge, but still kind of create havoc where Bo Nix isn't just right in the middle of the pocket and you're talking about it, throwing darts, right? Because he could throw some darts out there. Sure. If they make him move a little bit right or left, again, I think Texas Tech has a great chance at really creating a couple turnovers, even with the elite playmakers that Oregon has out there. On the offensive side of the football. When you look at Oregon, right, like, and you think, okay, they're coming into Texas Tech. It's a ruckus environment. We've talked about this on your channel too. Yeah, it's hot, right? First and foremost, do you think that's going to impact Oregon, just the heat aspect of things?
I mean, I don't know. I think, it's hard to tell until you get there. I would hope not, but anybody who's down there, you're gonna feel it. But like you said, I think the hottest time is gonna be in warmups. As the game progresses, I think the field's gonna cool off, and I think it'll be just nice and pleasant. I don't think it'll be that big of a deal. I think it's actually kind of fun to go down to a little bit hotter environment. Like we were talking the other day, it's somewhat unseasonably cool for whatever this week, but it'll get cranking. I mean, it's gonna be 85 on Saturday, and 85 out here is not the same as 85 where you're at because we don't have humidity. We are on the coast and, 85 gets hot. So it's like, for us, like, we're used to playing in the sunshine, and all these guys are coming. A lot of these guys are coming from the South, coming from, Southern California. And so, no, I don't think, I think it's overblown, the heat, but the heat of the temperature of the fan base, that's going to be something different. It's going to be rocking. And I think that's what people, though, sign up for. That's what we love about college football, the pageantry, right? And I think the Ducks will be having some fun. They're going in with the chrome helmets. They're going in with the white stormtrooper look. They love that. And the guys, I think, are going to get really excited to get out there and play. I also think that a lot of these guys are going to see some friends and family at this game, and that's also some nice home cooking as well. I think there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of friends and family, that this is going to be the closest they're going to come to the South. And so I know there's a lot of Duck fans that are going to be in Lubbock this week.
Yeah, no, I had multiple people that flew in today. Mm-hmm. They said, and they were from the West Coast. They said, hey, like the planes were packed, with green and yellow. And I was like, yeah, I'm not surprised. Like I fully expect there to be probably, 5,000-ish Duck fans there, maybe a little more. Kind of depends, right? I mean, because there's Duck fans down here in Texas. I mean, it's one of the easiest places to travel to in terms of y'all's schedule this year, at least. So I expect a lot of Duck fans there. Relative, obviously, Texas Tech is going to blow them out of the water. I expect it to be full 60,000, maybe 5,000 Duck fans.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the way it was like are they doing it where that's like white and black or something?
It's a checkered board. They're trying to copy Tennessee.
Okay. So, and then I remember Duck fans, we're supposed to, every year, Duck fans get their marching orders of what color to wear for every game. And the color that the Ducks were supposed to wear for this game was white. Because most of the time, the color the fans wear what the jerseys are wearing, right? They match. Sure. But this one, I saw a bunch of Duck fans say, oh, can't be wearing white. That's the same section as we're in. It's supposed to be white. We're going to be matching what they want to do for the matching thing. So I think there's going to be some green. You're right. I think. But it's going to be fun. Duck fans have fun down there. You know, we've had a lot of players down in Texas have done really well. Michael James being probably at the top of the list, one of the best running backs we've ever had, if not the best running back we've ever had in college. But go back to Bo Nix for just 1 second. I think Bo Nix is in a category of great college quarterback. And those guys, that we see them all the time. And I don't know if they translate to the NFL, but they're sure as hell fun to watch in college. And then you see other guys, you know, and you had one of them, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if anybody at Texas Tech saw the success Patrick Mahomes has in the NFL and thought, oh, that's exactly what we have right now with Texas Tech. We saw with Justin Herbert. Here we had Justin Herbert, and we were like, yeah, oh, sure, he's going to go be the NFL Rookie of the Year. No, we didn't. I don't think a lot of people saw that. But then there's opposite, right? There's the Tim Tebow guys. There's the other guys who just are amazing college quarterbacks. That, you know, just never really pan out in the NFL. And I don't know where Bo Nix fits on that spectrum, but I hope the best for him. I think he's gotten closer to being an NFL quarterback because of his arm, and he can start to really throw it. He's learned the offense is better. It felt like he was playing playground ball at Auburn, and he had like a new offensive coordinator every year of his entire career. I think this is maybe his 5th or 6th year. He's got 5 or 6 offensive coordinators. So it's mind-blowing to me. He's also, I think, one of the rarity people who've now been able to start for 5 years. I think that's the stat. That because of the COVID year and given the extra COVID year, because he started as a freshman. I mean, we played him in his first game as a freshman, and he came back and beat the Ducks with the last play. I mean, we had Arizona, the game sewn up the whole freaking time. The only time they led was like for the last 8 seconds of the game or something. So, yeah, the guy can play. I also think there's also something to be said about, especially from the South. We don't have this because we don't really know this sort of stuff, but his dad was a legend. And so his dad being so good and his dad being so important there at Auburn, there was a lot to live up to for him. And I felt like his path was already kind of written for him. And if he had to really stay in the lines to be able to make people happy about that. And, you know, he didn't really stay in the lines a little bit. And people kind of turned on him, which I think is absolutely crazy. But he came to Oregon and we were all in. There was a group of population of people who were like, oh, no, transfer portal again with the quarterback. And then, 2 months into the season, they're like, Heisman, But we've got the, billboards and stuff they're putting up, and they're hyping him up, as they should, because the guy's a hell of a player.
Yeah, no, and John brings up a good point here in the chat. Bo Nix, and Tyler Shough, in terms of their college careers, are very similar.
Very similar.
Very similar in the sense that you just talked about Bo Nix and all the offensive coordinators he has. This is the first time in Tyler Shough's 6 years of college football that he's had the back-to-back same coordinator in back-to-back years. It's wild.
Absurd.
And also, it feels really weird to say 6th year of college football.
Isn't that weird?
Really weird.
Yeah.
And he's got an extra year. He's got one more year left.
I know, it's crazy.
If he wants it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be very happy when this COVID thing is over. I think it was a necessity when it happened, but also at the same time, it's like, man, it is just throwing me off in terms of eligibility and everything like that. Everybody in the chat, if you got some questions for Ryan regarding Oregon, get them in there. We got some Oregon fans in here, Ryan.
Okay.
They're talking a little bit of trash.
I just clicked on it. Sorry, I just clicked on the chat. I didn't have it on here. Here we go. Okay.
No, they're talking trash. Look at this. Darius coming in here with the heat. RC, Oregon's secret weapon is Tyler Shough.
Darius B. Well, hey, I do think that this game could hinge on a turnover or two. I mean, I think these teams are going to play pretty straight up. I do, like you said, I do think Oregon has a little bit of the edge. I think it's going to be a really great environment that could give the edge, to make it basically a pick 'em type of situation. But, I do think that a turnover could really change everything. I mean, look at turnover obviously changed the game in the Wyoming game.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. That Wyoming game is going to be top 5 of the most games that just piss me off
It's going to
from
hurt.
Texas Tech football. It's just like, again, and I've said this all week and even on your show, like, I still think Texas Tech is a good team. That's the problem. Like, do I think they're as good as Oregon long term? No, because I think Oregon could potentially make the college football playoff. But as we all know, in college football, home games, especially in Lubbock, just change things, right? Like, I think Oregon is the more talented team from top to bottom. I don't think that's a hot take, but I do think Texas Tech is a good team. I think they're going to have a fire in them. And honestly, when I look at it, I think Texas Tech losing to Wyoming is just I think we talked about this on your show too, where like it's almost a detriment to Oregon. Like this is one of those things where it's like, oh, you go into Texas Tech and you beat Texas Tech. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that. You're Oregon. But if you lose, it's like you just lost to Texas Tech, who lost to Wyoming. What are we doing here? Right? Like,
Yeah.
What are we doing? I don't care if it was on the road. You got Bo Nix. He's a Heisman candidate. What are we doing?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not to get negative, but it definitely is one of those things where it felt like Texas Tech had to hold up their end of the bargain. Oregon had to hold up their end of the bargain to keep this thing alive, to make this thing a possible top 25 matchup. Feels like it would have been naturally with what you saw in the top 25. And it felt like there was a good chance that would have happened had they just taken care of business. And they didn't. And that's frustrating. And I get that, especially for you guys. That would be horribly frustrating. But, for the Ducks, I think the Ducks are still more concerned about, the Pac-12. We got some serious games here. This was a game that historically, when we looked at it, when it first came on the books and we were excited about it, it was thank you so much. It was a situation where we thought, okay, that looks like a good game. That looks like a good road test, but maybe not that concerned with Texas Tech at that point where Oregon was at, whatever Texas Tech. I think as the game's gotten a lot closer, the teams have gotten a lot closer. I think the way you guys ended last year was really great. And, we were super pumped up about this thing. And so I do think that there's been some air taken out of the balloon a little bit with that loss. And nationally, especially. Okay. I don't think there's anything different about the Oregon fans being excited to go play there or the Ducks, whatever, guys. But I think nationally, the amount of pub that they want to put on this game or not, even though they could have really hyped this, like you said, the Bo Nix, the Tyler Shough, all the stuff that they want to talk about was like right on their plate for them. I think it's been pretty quiet on that front this week. And I also think that, the Pac-12 is in an interesting spot. We, for the first time in my recollection, won every game the first week. And that's very rare. And when you talk about like teams not upholding their end of the bargain, most of the time it's been our own Pac-12 brethren that has been the one who's not upheld their end of the bargain. I mean, the other, a couple of years ago, Washington lost to Montana. I mean, we're talking about, I know Montana's good on their level, but please, that can't be happening. And so it's like, we look around at the other parts of the conference, like, how did that go down? Please. So, I respect Wyoming. I know it's tough to play up there. The Ducks did go up and play up there. They played Josh Allen when he was there. And it's a different environment and it's tough. And especially, it's like at what, 7,000 feet elevation or something. I mean,
it's the highest in college football.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous thing. And you get late in the game, weird stuff happens if they're close and they're in it. And there was a part in the game when the Ducks were playing them, and the Ducks were good then, and Wyoming was not that good when Josh Allen was there, and it was kind of close. We're like, oh man, if this thing stalls out, we're in trouble, and that's exactly what happened this time. And I think that's Wyoming's game plan a little bit. It was to take the ball away from you guys and hide a little bit. But Texas Tech also fell into the traps that Wyoming set for them, and we're a willing participant in losing. So,
yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. Like, I don't mean to be too hard or anything, but like from the hype perspective that Texas Tech got, and really it was only somewhat warranted if we're being honest about it, right? Like they went 8-5, they ended the year on a 4-0 run. Like they didn't do anything. Yeah, but they didn't do anything like crazy. I think that got hyped because it was year number 1 of Joey McGuire, right? Like that's the reason why.
That did carry the.
Yeah. And Joey McGuire's got a lot of pull. Like, I think he's a phenomenal coach, right? But now it's crazy again how in 1 week you can go from almost that dark horse to the embarrassment of the Big 12 almost. Thank God for Baylor. is what I've been saying all week.
Totally.
Thank God for Baylor, or else Texas Tech would be talked about a lot more. Real quick, Roy's got a question for you. Ryan, are you saying Oregon might be looking ahead since we lost to Wyoming?
No. I think this has been the game. What I'm saying is I think Oregon's whole schedule. I'm sorry I didn't get to finish that point. That sounded a little strange. When you looked at Oregon's whole schedule, this was a game that's the biggest game in the front half of the schedule. Oregon comes after this. I guess Colorado now is making noise because of the game against TCU, but that's the home opener. But other than that, you play Hawaii, you play Colorado, you play Stanford, you get the bye. So then you have everybody else. Then you have the Washington, USC, Utah, Oregon State. Those are all going to be very challenging games. And in my mind, those are going to be more challenging games than the Texas Tech game. And I think a lot of people were trying to put Texas Tech in that same category. And I was buying into the hype a little bit on that as well, that I thought that it deserved a lot of respect on that level from Duck fans, because I don't know if a lot of Duck fans were putting it there on that same level. But no, for the players, no, they're jacked by this game. A lot of the players from the South, there's players from Texas on this team. There's players from other places around that are close enough to that area. This is going to be a big showcase game. Anytime you can get on the road, I think it really solidifies a team. For anybody who's played team sports or anybody who's coached team sports, I think you love to go on the road. I think going on the road is awesome. Pack up the bags, get out there, business trip, get to see a place a little bit different. You get to really just be on your own. You see your crowd. It always is pumped up. I like to go to road games, so it's really kind of fun to see your crowd at the road game. I just think it's going to be a great environment. And the way that the lights pop there, the way that you guys jam the stadium, the heat, the Texas barbecue, I mean, everything's going to be just really, really, really great. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the year. This is the point where I regret not going, because this is the day I would probably be leaving. But for me, it's a little tight. I'm a teacher. It's first week of school this week. And, it's easier for me to go out that week before than it is for me to go out that first, second week or whatever. But it is going to be a hell of a game, and I'm excited as heck for it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know you have a live on your channel after this, so I want to leave plenty of time for this.
Oh yeah. I'm going live at 5:30. We've got a guy named Tyson Alger out here, does a great job. He's hilarious. But yeah, I would highly recommend, if just for a little bit here, to plug some of the other channels for Oregon. Some of the other people that are out there, they do a really good job. My guy Max Torres, he's the Ducks Digest, connected with SI. He does a super good job with recruiting. Obviously, the 247 guys, everybody's got their 247 guys. Our guys are great. Matt Preem, Eric Scopel, Jared Mack, they all do a really good job. My guy Ducks Wire is Zach Neal. He does a great job. He's connected with USA Today. These guys all do really, really quality content. They all have their own YouTube channels. They're all on Twitter. They all have, they do a lot of coverage, man. Ducks do a lot of great work. Tyson does a great job with his own channel. So it's fun to see a bunch of guys out here doing great things. I've been out here for a long time doing it. When I first started doing it, it was the early days, like Chip Kelly first started, everything else like this. And, there was just, the internet was kind of not really doing a lot of this, what we're doing right now. We didn't have any of this kind of streaming. We didn't really have any of this kind of stuff where we could chat live and do all this other sort of stuff. Roy's saying Spencer, locked on, loves Spencer McLaughlin, big fan of Spencer, locked on Ducks, locked on Pac-12. He came on with us, RC, on the live stream the other day. Great guy. So I really like this, what we've got right now with the whole sports media doing a lot of different stuff, YouTube carrying a lot of content, a lot of content, a lot of other spaces, the podcasts, everybody's got a lot of access there. So, everybody's always had their beat reporter. Our guy is Rob Mosley, does a fantastic job. He's like the guy, the spokesperson of the Ducks. But now we've got just a variety of other people that are out in the space that really do a great job. So shout out to all those people.
Yeah.
John just says Spencer's a nerd that didn't have anything accurate.
Hey, everybody's got an opinion. You know what I mean? Everybody's got one.
It's all good. Hey, John, I respect you, bud. Cheers to you, man. But yeah, Spencer's hilarious. Spencer actually is a professional broadcaster, works for Southern Utah University. He's their voice of their whole program, does a fantastic job. To be a professional broadcaster, I think you have to be a nerd. I think it's actually like a prerequisite tough gig. Like you have to be able to have the paperwork and everything. You have to know the numbers and everything and where they're from. And everything. I mean, he does like college gymnastics. He does volleyball. He does it. He's like the
that's
boys.
lunacy.
Dude, it's crazy. So, I mean, the guy is like super, and he's a scratch golfer. So the guy's legitimate golfer,
right,
like
well,
legitimate. So
save some, you know what, for the rest of us.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But he's a little guy, you know, and me, I'm a big guy. It would be like Chris Farley and David Spade if we had a buddy comedy. Hey, thank you so much, RC. You're absolutely the man. You crush it. Thank you so much. And I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Hopefully you guys have a hell of a season the rest of the way. And I got a lot of respect for y'all. So I hopefully think the Ducks are going to win. Little score prediction at the end, maybe. I think it's going to be in the 30s.
That's what I wanted.
Right. It's going to be in the 30s or 40s. So maybe you could go like a 40, 42, 38, 42. So like it could be really tight. You know, I could also see the Ducks a little bit running away. Maybe running away for me is like a 2-score game, you know, so in this one. So I do think it's going to be a close game at the end, but I would love to see it.
I got to get you, though.
Yeah.
Your final one. You have to pick a score. We do that on
I'll go the Ducks. I'll go the Ducks. I think we get into the 40. I think it's a 45-42, something like that.
Spicy.
I don't think the defense is showing up. I think you're scoring some points.
Hey, welcome to the Big 12. Back in
Aiden down here says 56-21 Ducks. You know,
see, I've been getting a lot of that, Ryan.
That's it.
A lot of it.
And what is it? Leanne Callie here, 56-17. I think that's a little steep. I think if it was a blowout for the Ducks, I think it could be something close to that. But I think the number would be higher for Tech. I think Tech's going to score some points here. They're too good of an offense not to. So
also, it's a home game, man. Exactly. Like I said on your shows, weird shit happens in Lubbock, Texas.
100%. And if the bettors say that it's a 3-point home thing, I think you guys get a 7-point. I think it's worth enough for a full touchdown. So I think it's at the end of the day, you know, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. I think that's the main thing we want here. I think we both want, obviously, Tech, you guys need a win. You know, you get a win here, this would be huge. Really catapult your whole season. But for the Ducks, you know, I think this is one that they need to go out and really show up and get a national audience on the thing. I think a lot of people are going to watch it. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this game. And I think people want to see how good the Ducks are. And they didn't really get to see last week. Like you said, glorified scrimmage. So I really like this game. I think it's going to be fantastic. You're going to have a great time, my man.
Yeah. Before you head out, Ryan, I appreciate you having
me on your show. So
you hopping on mine as well. This week has just been a lot of fun interacting with Oregon fans. Some are, I'll say this, just like Texas Tech fans, I'm not throwing shots here. A little more delusional than others. That's okay. I'm all about it. But it's just been a lot of fun. And I mean, I'm headed out there tomorrow. Get to go watch basketball practice before the game on Saturday. Get to take the future in-laws out there. The future brother-in-law is touring Texas Tech. If he picks the Aggies, I'm disowning him. Hope they're watching. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Congratulations, by the way, on the ring.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Joining the team here. My joke is always to the kids. It's like this. Like
it. Honestly,
I'm Catholic.
I'm excited about it.
Man. Get in
but
there.
It's one of those things where give it a little time, right? That's the old saying, I guess. But yeah, no, I'm really excited, man. And honestly, I'm super excited about this game. Get to interact with a bunch of Oregon fans out there, and you, Spencer, everybody has just been great during this week. So honestly, I just can't wait for this game to get rocking and rolling and seeing what the Jones has in store for not only Oregon, but also Texas Tech as well. It should be a lot of fun this weekend.
Absolutely. And I go to a lot of games. I'm a season ticket holder for years. I go to road games. I love the energy of college football. Anytime you get a home opener, it's always awesome. First week, second week, it doesn't matter. Home openers are phenomenal. Bad team, good team, doesn't matter. This is one of the best teams. Like you're saying, we went through this whole thing before. One of the best teams to come into Lubbock for years now. Top flight program in a very strange space in this whole delusional losing the Pac-12, going to the Big Ten, relevant or not, whatever. This is a big game, and have all this atmosphere and all the attention on this game at this time. Once that ball kicks off, the Wyoming game doesn't matter anymore. This week has been all about that and everything else. But once that ball's in the air and those guys are popping pads, nobody's worrying about what happened last week. It's about right now, and they're going to get it in. And if they beat Oregon, what a storyline that would be to start the year with losing to Wyoming and then finishing or starting the season to beat Oregon.
Everything flips
You
on
can't
its
even
head.
draw that up.
Yeah, no, everything flips on its head. You know, I told people from the jump from this season, I was like, obviously, perfect scenario. Texas Tech starts 2-0. But if they
Right.
start 1-1, I don't care what situation it was. Like, I obviously thought it would be Wyoming and then losing to Oregon. But if they start 1-1 after this, again, it's going to be crazy to see how the narratives change after what happened in the Wyoming game. If they beat Oregon, just all the narratives for Texas Tech. And then if, Oregon wins, they get a really high quality win, in my opinion, on the road. And maybe that gets them a little bit of momentum going into the Pac-12, a league that you could argue has the best top 6 quarterbacks in terms of just top of the league quarterbacks out there. I mean, it is freaking loaded. You got the Heisman winner. You obviously got a Heisman hopeful, Bo Nix. You got Penix. You got DJ up at Oregon State. I haven't even mentioned Sadir Sanders yet. There's a bunch of high quality guys, and then Cam Rising's coming back at Utah as well. So there's just a bunch. And if that guy, I swear, is on AARP, it's the only logical explanation at this point. He is old. But no, in all seriousness, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. And Raider Mitch is right. Nothing says Texas Tech football like a Dirk Nowitzki poster behind me. I mean, what else would?
Dude,
Did you know that Dirk Nowitzki went to Texas Tech, as I jokingly say that to you? Yeah, that's a Texas Tech legend right there. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for coming on and talking Oregon with me. One more time before you head out, shout out your stuff, your YouTube channel, Twitter, anything you want to promote.
Sports Chat 503. 503 used to be the area code of the whole state of Oregon when I was growing up, and we added a bunch of people. You know, the city of Portland I live in has doubled in population in my lifetime. It's crazy how many people are moving out here to the West Coast. They might be moving back now. I don't know.
It's a back and forth thing. Who knows?
Yeah. But I'm on YouTube. Like I said, I don't know how to do any other stuff. I am on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Sports Chat 503 Instagram or whatever. I'm a regular guy. I don't really consider myself part of the media. I'm just a fan. I just got a YouTube channel. I talk into a microphone. I talk into a computer here in my room here in my basement. Nice and mellow out here on the West Coast. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. If you guys want to follow me throughout the regular season, it's a blast, man. I do have a live stream Tuesday nights, 5:30 Pacific Coast time, the whole year, and I talk about a variety of things. I'll talk about what your favorite beer is or pizza flavor or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. So thank you guys so much. RC, you're the absolute man. Home run. Let's go. Thank you so much. Have a great time down there, bud.
Hey, I appreciate you hopping on again, and good luck to y'all this weekend.
Thanks so much. You too, bud. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for having me on. Have a great one, y'all. Adios.
All right. I see Roy just had this. RC, what is your prediction? Here we go. And I appreciate y'all spending some time with me before Patrick Mahomes. Is that better, Mitch? Is that better that we have Patrick Mahomes up there now? Just asking. I'm just messing with you, Mitch. But in all seriousness, Roy, I think for me, I'll say my 3 keys to the game, and I talked about it here on the channel. You can go check out the video. I think if Texas Tech starts quick, I think if they set the edge and create chaos in the pocket where Bo Nix has to move around, that's big. And then really when you look at it, I think they have to be more balanced. If they run the ball like they did against Wyoming, I'm telling you right now, Texas Tech doesn't have any shot, right? But I do think they do improve when it comes to running the football. I'll say that. And for me, I've been going back and forth all week. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I was right there with you guys when it came to what the hell just happened in Wyoming. I was 100% with you because I thought that Texas Tech was a good team. I still think they are, but I think that was a massive disappointment and downright embarrassing, if we're being honest. But I have a hard time believing that Texas Tech is going to shit the bed twice in 2 weeks, especially at the home opener in a game that has been hyped up more than ever, in a season that has been hyped up more than any season since the late 2010s, I guess, or 2000s, zeros. I don't know. Not good with that. Anyway, since 2008, 2009, right? This team is a good football team. So is Oregon. But I know one thing for certain when it comes to this matchup. Jones AT&T Stadium is going to be absolutely bonkers on Saturday night. And I'm telling you right now, telling you right now, Texas Tech needs to get the ball first. And if they go down there and get 7 and make it 7-0, and Bo Nix comes out down 7-0 on his first drive, he's not going to be able to hear himself think. It is going to be so loud, right? And I think Texas Tech is going to be in this game until the very end. I truly do. And honestly, Roy, I've been going back and forth all week, even on the podcast today with Lyle. I changed my mind from my initial prediction. And I'll be honest, I think it's one of those things where if Texas Tech does those 3 things and they can actually get to Bo Nix and wreak some havoc and do it early, I think the Red Raiders can make a statement. That being said, I think Oregon is a really good team. I'm not going to go 45-42. I think that's a little too high, in my opinion. I think this is going to be a 34-31 type game. Whoever has the ball last wins. And I'm unfortunately going to pick Oregon on that front. But I think Texas Tech, again, I think when it comes down to it, Texas Tech has a chance here to truly, and I mean truly, completely 180 their season. And if they beat Oregon, I think all the hype and expectations preseason wise for Texas Tech come back. And it's going to be a great season for Texas Tech, but a lot of pressure on them this weekend against a really, really good Oregon team. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video. I appreciate everybody spending part of their Thursday night right before NFL kickoff tuning into Ryan. Really appreciate Ryan hopping in here. He is freaking awesome. Even if he's an Oregon fan, we'll forgive him for that, for giving us the inside scoop. That was Behind Enemy Lines. We're going to try to make this a thing here every Thursday night on the channel. I'm going to be reaching out to whoever Texas Tech is playing that individual week outside of Tarleton State, just because, well, I messed up and I didn't reach out soon enough on that front. But that's on me. But we're going to make this a thing during the Big 12 and moving forward, trying to get a guest on here every week talking about the team that Texas Tech is playing, what we need to expect, and much, much more. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want to stay in the know on Texas Tech football all year long, right here on your one-stop shop for everything Texas Tech football. Of course, I'm talking about the Back to 12 podcast channel. And, oh, by the way, go Chiefs. Let's go, Patty.